Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I am here to bring you a battle between two Core Set 2020 sealed decks and the Defeat a God challenge deck from Journey into Nyx. These are two Golgari decks and they are black and green respectively. We'll be playing against Xenagos two times, first in normal difficulty, then on hard mode, and we'll be using 3 hero cards to assist us in this process. The 3 hero cards are the Harvester, which says tap, draw a card, then discard a card. The Vanquisher, which says your starting hand size is increased by 1, your maximum hand size is increased by 1, and the Explorer, which says you may play an additional land on each of your turns. Because I only have 1 copy of each of these cards, we're going to apply them to both decks simultaneously. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing 8 cards apiece. Black draws a Meteor Golem, Epicure of Blood, Swamp, Gorging Vulture, Bone Splinters, Nightpack Amateur, Forest, and Agonizing Sympathy. This is a little low on land, and so I'm going to use our free mulligan because it's multiplayer and ship it back. Second hand is a Rabid Bite, a Swamp, an Audacious Thief, a Manifold Key, a Swamp, a Forest, a Leafkin Druid, and a Swamp. This is not very good, especially since we only have 1 creature, but I think we still have to keep it. Green draws a Nightpack Amateur, Moldavine Reclamation, Murder, Epicure of Blood, Swamp, Forest, Swamp, and Gorging Vulture. I think we keep this hand as well. We'll go ahead and get started by playing a Forest and a Swamp over here. We'll tap them both and play a Leafkin Druid. This is a 0/3 Elemental Druid. You can tap to add green. If you control 4 or more creatures, add green instead. Black will play a Forest and a Swamp, and then we'll pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will cast the top 2 cards. The first one is an Ecstatic Piper. It's a 2/2 Satyr Reveler. When it enters the battlefield, a Xenagos Ascended attacks this turn if able, and when Ecstatic Piper leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. And then we'll also cast a Maddening Oread. It's a 4/2 Enchantment Nymph Reveler. As long as there are 5 or more Revelers on the battlefield, Maddening Oread attacks each turn if able, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 3 life. So, Xenagos is attacking this turn, and because there are 5 or more creatures on the battlefield, the Maddened Oread will attack this turn as well. We cannot really afford to lose the Leafkin Druid in a chomp attack, and so we will go ahead and take 10 damage and go all the way down to 10 this turn. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black will draw a Soul Savage and will discard the Manifold Key. Green will draw a Swamp, and we will discard the Moldavine Reclamation. We'll untap. Draw. Black draws a Gravedigger. Green draws a Yarok's Fenlurker. We'll go ahead and play 2 Swamps over here. And we'll go ahead and play 2 Swamps over here. We will spend 3 mana and cast the Audacious Thief. This is a 2/2. Human Rogue. When Audacious Thief attacks, you draw a card and lose 1 life. Over here, we will tap 3 mana. And we'll cast the Gorging Vulture. This is a 2/2 bird with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. You gain 1 life for each creature card put into your graveyard this way. Here are the top 4 cards. We put a Vorse Claw, Forest, Silverback Shaman, and Barkhide Troll in. We'll gain 3 life and go up to 13. And then Black will tap the Leafkin Druid and the Swamp for mana and cast Rabid Bite. It is a sorcery. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. The Audacious Thief will hit the Maddened Oread, and then the Maddened Oread will die. When it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 3 life. There's 2 players, so we'll gain 6 life. And then we'll go from 13 up to 19. And then we will pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will untap and cast the top 2 cards. The first one is a Maddened Oread. We know what that does. And the second one is a Impulsive Charge. At the beginning of combat this turn, all Revelers gain haste until end of turn and attack is combat if able. So everybody's going to come in on the attack. I think we'll trade the Gorging Vulture for the Maddened Oread, and we will block one of the other Rollicking Throngs to take a total of 4 damage, taking us to 15. The Gorging Vulture dies, as does the Maddened Oread, and then we'll gain 6 life to go back up to 21. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black will draw a Forest and will discard the Soul Salvage. Green will draw a Woodland Champion, and we will discard the Yarok's Fenlurker, and then we'll untap. Black draws a Silverback Shaman. Green draws a Forest. We'll play the Forest. We'll play the other Forest, and then we will attack our Audacious Thief into one of the Rollicking Throngs. We'll lose 1 life to go back down to 20, but we'll draw a card. That gets us a swamp. We'll play the swamp as well. We have 6 mana, but I think we're just going to cast the Silverback Shaman. This is a 5/4 Ape Shaman with trample, and when it dies, draw a card. And then we will hold on green, and we'll pass the turn to Xenagos. We'll untap, and Xenagos will cast the top 2 cards. The first one is Dance of Flame. Whenever a Reveler attacks, Dance of Flame deals 1 damage to each player. And then also Xenagos' Strike deals 4 damage to each player. There are 2 players, so we'll take 8 damage and go to 12. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws a Nightpack Ambusher, and we'll discard the Nightpack Ambusher, planning to get it back to the Gravedigger. Green draws a Audacious Thief, and we will discard the Audacious Thief. At the end of the turn, we'll also flash in the Nightpack Ambusher. This is a 4/4 wolf with flash. Other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1 at the beginning of your end step. If you didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. And then we will untap. Black draws a swamp. Green draws a Blade Brand. And then we will play the swamp over here. We will attack with the Nightpack Ambusher into the Ecstatic Piper, the Silverback Shaman into one of the Rollicking Throngs. The Audacious Thief will also attack a Rollicking Throng. We'll lose 1 life and we'll draw a card over here. It is a Vampire of the Dire Moon. And then we will tap 2 mana over here and cast Blade Brand, targeting the Audacious Thief, giving it Death Touch until end of turn, and draw a card. We draw a Gravedigger, and then this will kill 2 Rollicking Throngs and the Ecstatic Piper. This will get us 4 life to take us back up to 15. And then we will spend 4 mana over here to cast Gravedigger. This is a 2/2 zombie. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. That will be a Nightpack Ambusher. This also gives us 4 creatures for Leafkin Druid's ability. Green will tap 2 mana and cast the Woodland Champion. This is a 2/2 Elf Scout. Whenever 1 or more tokens enter the battlefield under your control, put that many +1/+1 counters on Woodland Champion. And then we will tap the Swamp to cast Vampire of the Dire Moon. This is a 1/1 Vampire with Death Touch and Lifelink. And then we'll pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos will cast the top 2 cards. The first one being Xenagos' Strike. Deals 4 damage to each player. We'll take 8 damage and then go down to 7. And then Xenagos will cast the next card, which is Impulsive Destruction. Each player may sacrifice an artifact or enchantment. Impulsive Destruction deals 3 damage to each player who didn't sacrifice something this way. We have no artifacts and enchantments, so we'll take 6 damage and go to 1. And then at the end of the turn, we will tap the Leafkin Druid for 2, and the 2 force will flash in the Nightpack Ambusher. And then we will not use the Harvester. We will untap. Draw. Black draws a Blood Burglar. Green draws a Forest. We'll play the Forest, and I think we have this. All we have to do is attack and kill the Rollicking Throng. So the Silverback Shaman will go and attack and kill the Rollicking Throng. The Rollicking Throng is dead, so Xenagos is now vulnerable, and we will spend 3 mana over here to cast Murder. It's an instant. It says destroy target creature. We'll target Xenagos. Xenagos says Xenagos Ascended can't leave the battlefield as long as a Reveler is on the battlefield. There are none. And when Xenagos Ascended leaves the battlefield, each player wins a game. So we win at 1 life. That was close. We'll be right back for hard mode. For hard mode, in game 2, we have 4 Rollicking Throngs. We'll draw 8 cards apiece. Black draws a Blood Burglar, Forest, Leafkin Druid, Forest, Blood Burglar, Silverback Shaman, Swamp, and Swamp. I think this is a fine first hand. Green draws a Forest, a Swamp, a Yarrock's Fenlurker, Gorging Vulture, Forest, Evolving Wilds, Blade Brand, and Moldervine Reclamation. It's not a great hand, but I think we're going to have to keep this one. And for our first turn, we'll play a Swamp and a Forest over here. We'll tap them both and play a Blood Burglar. This is a 2/2 Vampire Rogue. As long as it's your turn, Blood Burglar has lifelink. Green will play Evolving Wilds and the Swamp. We'll tap and sacrifice the Evolving Wilds using its ability, which says tap, sacrifice Evolving Wilds, search your library for a basic land, and put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Go ahead and grab a Swamp, put it on the battlefield tapped, and we'll shuffle. And then we will pass the turn to Xenagos, who will cast the top 2 cards. The first one is a Ferrisband Reveler. It's a 4/4 Centaur Reveler, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player draws a card. The second one is an Impulsive Charge. At the beginning of combat this turn, all Revelers gain haste until end of turn and attack this combat if able. So they're all coming in. We'll block 1 of the Rollicking Throngs, and we'll take 7 damage to go to 13. Then the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws a swamp, and we will discard the swamp. Green draws a Thicket Crasher, and we will discard the Yarok's Fenlurker. Then we'll untap. Black draws a Growth Cycle. Green draws an Epicure of Blood. Black will play the Forest and the Swamp. And then we'll tap everything and play another Blood Burglar, as well as a Leaf Kindred. Green will play 2 forests, and then we will tap them all, and we'll play the Thicket Crasher. This is a 4/3 elemental Rhino with Trample, and other elementals you control have Trample. And then we will go to combat. We'll attack with a single Blood Burglar into one of the Rollicking Throngs to get 2 life to go back up to 15, and then we will pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos untaps. Draws. Gets a Wild Mayonnaise. This is a 3/1 Human Reveler with First Strike, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 3 life. And then a Ecstatic Piper. We're going to have Xenagos come in at us, and we're just going to take it this turn and go to 9. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Black draws a Gravedigger. We'll discard the Growth Cycle. Green draws a Leaf Kindred, and we will discard the Blade Rand. And then we will untap. Black will draw a Nightpack Ambusher. Green will draw a Forest. Green will play the Forest. We'll spend 5 mana over here, and we'll cast the Moldavine Reclamation. This is an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control dies, you get 1 life and draw a card. And then we will attack this into the Ferrispan Reveler, and these 2 into one of the Rollicking Throng. This will kill the Ferrispan Reveler and a Rollicking Throng. Each player will draw a card, and will gain 4 life to go up to 13. Black draws a Swamp. Green draws a Swamp. We'll play the Swamp, and the Thicket Crasher will die from running to the Ferrispan Reveler, but we'll draw a card and we'll gain 1 life for that. We get another Moldavine Reclamation. We get a life to go up to 14. We'll play the Swamp over here, and we'll tap all the mana. And we will play a Silverback Shaman. And then we'll pass the turn to Xenagos. Xenagos untaps. And we'll cast the top 2 cards. The first one is an Ecstatic Piper. We know what that does. And then the second one is Ripped to Pieces. At the beginning of combat, this turn, each Reveler deals 1 damage to each player and each creature those players control. So at the beginning of combat, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Revelers, and so that'll deal 6 damage to each creature and 12 damage to us as the players. So all of the creatures are going to die. And then we'll draw 1 card of the Shaman dying, and that is the Audacious Thief. And then we're going to go down to 2, and then Xenagos will come in and attack and finish us off. And that is the end of our run here against Xenagos in hard mode. That was too bad, but that happens a lot against the Defeated God Challenge deck. Let me know what your thoughts were about the games. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of these videos, you can hit subscribe. This was Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.